See you in 30 seconds. That was 30 seconds ago. Coolio. All right, I don't see myself. Oh, I forgot to. Oops, let me turn myself off. Okay, so my beautiful face is well lit, I guess. Hey people, yo, what's up? How are you guys? Yo, can you hear me well? Can you see me well? Right, cool. So welcome to the new live stream, the feedback live stream. But before we jump into it, I want to show you something that I made today, and I'm sure you guys will love it or will understand it. Okay. Right, so this was the first track. I can receive feedbacks on it if you guys want. Right, so how can you submit the track? Just go to the feedback tracks, right? Am I right? And just post your song there. And hopefully, if the bot is if you are lucky and the bot is gracious for you, it will drop me your track to give feedback on it. Right now, I'm selecting the first one, so let's not waste more time. And before I do that, I want to, oops, this is not the one. Oh, come on. I started a previous version of live. It is still 11.27. I'm not sure what is happening. Right, so tell me, how are you guys till then? Till my computer wakes up. Right, okay, let's start this one. So, how are you guys? How you doing? Yeah, just drop it into Discord. The link is in the description. Coolio. Okay, so the first track is from Rei. Sure. Right, cool, okay. So here we are again. Okay, that was cool. I'm a big fan of mid-tempo, to be honest. There are some points I think where this thing is bleeding. First of all, sorry, my phone is still notifying me about things. So the first thing that I think the intro was too long. I mean, it was not necessarily too long, but the melodies and all the melodic instruments, melodic content that you put into it, I think was not enough for this length for the intro. So let me show you what I mean. So you have this da 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 da. Okay, so this goes like almost half a minute. Then you switch it up with the same thing basically, that again goes almost like half a minute or something, or 20 seconds. And then you go back to the original instrument. Well, not the original, but a very similar sound. So it's like almost 1 minute long that I hear basically the same thing. Like yes, you change the instrument, but after a while it gets a little boring to me, honestly. I can hear, and that is a great thing, that you put a lot of effects into it that builds the tension, like risers and other effects. That Redux effect is really cool. I think it fits to the style really well. But I think you should need to switch, like for example this part, with something different that is not the intro melody, like da 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 da. So not that one. And I think that is the problem when we get to the drop. I can't really tell if the drop is happening here or is it still only the build up. So yeah, we get the drums. And when you introduce the clap or the snare, I can't really tell. Well, to me it's a snare. I was like, okay, this is probably the drop now, and not another part for the build-up. So yeah, this is something that you definitely need to work on, I think, a little more to make the song more interesting, because after a while it gets really, really boring. The other thing that I think, well, I'm hesitating to tell it, but I think it is worth mentioning that I think the kick is not suitable for this style. I'm not saying that this is a bad kick. I think that for mid-tempo, and especially for the bass-heavy stuff, this is this click, this transient, is more like it's more suitable for like a trance, or what is the style, you know, for house, but not for mid-tempo. Mid-tempo and bass-heavy stuff always, well, most of the cases need very thick transients on the kick. This is not thick. This is a spiky transient, if you know what I mean. This is good for that psy trance. Yeah, so psy trance. This kick is a psy trance kick, and I think this is not very suitable for this style. Let me see if I can dig out the one that I used. So project. This is, by the way, just what if I find it, is just a rip from from the 1788L song. Hopefully I will be able to open it in a year. But yeah, those transients in mid-tempo and dubstep are a lot more chunkier than this kind of kick. And the other thing that I would say really hurts my ears, well, not hurt, but you know, it's said that you totally kill the snare. So you can't really hear the snare hitting. There are some techniques for that, but I should see your mastering chain or how you process the groups, the drum groups. Because in most of the cases when this happens, the snare is either too loud or too quiet. I'm not sure what is happening there, because if it is too quiet, if it is too, at last it is here. So if it is too loud, all the compression that you put on the master or on the drum mix group basically just is eaten by the kick. Or if it is too quiet, the same thing happens. Again, it is eaten by the kick. So you really need to find a balance between the kick and the snare, and you need to process it well, like EQing and stuff like that. Yeah, so this is the kick that I would prefer here, honestly. So this is what I was looking for. It is a little similar than yours, but still it doesn't have that very harsh and very ear-bleeding click. Maybe I think the only problem here is that some EQing, you know, only on the transient, because it sticks out. That's cool. It cuts through the mix, and basically you achieved. If this was your goal, you totally achieved it. But to me, honestly, this is a little too. Too different, or maybe just the pitch is too high. In these cases, let me show you what I like to do. Let me drop not an external rag, but an audio effect rag. Oh, maybe I have a preset for that. And you know, some frequency split. 3 bands is okay. So I have the top band. If I mute it, basically we can only hear the problematic area that I don't really like. So I just drop a frequency shifter only on the top band. So basically with this, the lower bands and basically the mid band is untouched. So just tweak the higher band. I think this is a little better. No, I don't think the kick is muddy. So in this song, I don't feel it is muddy. I just feel that the transient is not the coolest thing here. But after that, we need another EQ8 because it generated lots of low end. And maybe then we can chop it off. Or maybe it's just a frequency peak that I don't like. This frequency range is a little problematic to me, honestly. That's it. Okay, so this is how I would tweak the drums if it is too spiky. I'm not sure if this is the best description for the problem that I hear. Okay, so yeah, by the way, your sound design is cool. I really love the basses, but you know, if you fix these and if you work a little more on the melodies and on the well, the intro melody, so to switch it up with something different that, you know, refreshes our ears, that would be really cool. All right, pick next dude. Entry. Okay, it is from Chaos. Lol, okay, cool stuff again. I really love the Kraftwerk sound set. Why did I solo it? Okay, so lovely intro. I love the 90s style. So well, it's the Kraftwerk style as I hear it. So it is definitely 80s, sorry, 80s, 90s, yeah. Okay, so I love the slow build in this track. And at the same time, I don't love it. So, yeah, you know, these 80s style sound. What was that movie? I really love that one. The Philadelphia Cop from Philadelphia. I don't remember. By Eddie Murphy. Never mind. So that era, I'm sure you guys know what I mean or what sound this reminds me. And those styles and those songs always built really, really slow. Now here, I feel the same and I really love it. But when I got to the first half, like to the half of the song, I felt that again I want to hear something different. This is a lot better in terms of melody, content, and monotonity, but I still love to hear. I would have loved to hear something fresh, something that switches up a bit. So okay, you have this screamy, talky kind of lead sound that is very cool. I love it, and it is here still there with the acid. But to me, honestly, again, this is something very, very similar that I heard previously. That very deep breeze. It's very, very cool, by the way. This sound is very cool. But basically all you did here is you introduced the acid. That is very, very cool. Somehow this is still feels to me a little monotonic. I'm sure that this is intentional and I can hear how you build the song up, that it was intentional to build it really slow. And again, I love the concept, but I still want to hear something that, you know, switches the song a little in a weird way somehow, not just introducing a new element at the half of the song that already built up really slow. But, you know, when you build up really slow, I expected to hear something really wild and really, really big, you know, something. I missed that. And although the song is really cool, I love the style, I love the sounds, I really love the 808 style drums that you put in. And I think the mix is cool. Somehow, the only thing that I can hear, maybe the kick is a little too muddy. What happened? Let's see the kick. Yeah, the first hit of the kick is cool, but here it starts fading in with the bass, and maybe that is the problem. This is why I hear it a little muddy. Maybe I think you should have used a little more sidechain, if you did at all. I'm not sure really. Oh yeah, you did. You used some sidechain, but maybe it would be a better idea to make a longer sidechain. But maybe it is just a mixing problem. It is not a big problem at all. I think it sounds cool. The kick itself is a little too muddy to me, honestly, but it's not a big problem at all. Everything sounds cool. So if you would be able to somehow, you know, lead this full song into a little bigger something, that would be really cool. Because right now, basically, you have a Reese and the lead sound that starts building up until the half of the song that is 1.30 seconds. So it's 1 minute 30 seconds. Sorry, and then after you introduce an acid, and that is the song. I know this is intentional, but I wanted to hear something big, something more, you know, that just grabs me on the nerves. And I miss that. But other than that, I think this is a really cool stuff. Tell me if Beverly Hills Cops. That's it. So that is the era, that is the sound that I can hear in this song, and I love it. Yeah, thanks guys for helping out. So yeah, this is a very cool song. I love it. By the way, what is this lead? Is it coming from I'm sure it is FM, but what synth did you use here? Chaos. Anyway, loved it. Really cool stuff. Next, dude. It's needle. Okay, it's easier if I just start playing it. Cool, all right. Yeah, one of the dudes told, and yeah, it's obvious, unfortunately, that you overcrunched your master. So we can clearly see it's in the waveform that this kick, I guess this is the kick. Yeah, so this kick is basically a square wave. That always, well, it's always a bad sign if your kick looks like a square instead of a sine. Now, I'm not saying that some saturation is a bad thing on a kick, but if the master itself looks like a square, oops, sorry, a square wave, especially on the lowest parts, that's not a good sign. Probably you overcrunched your master or your drums group. I don't really know, but I think it is coming from the master. So yeah, everything is crunched a little too heavily. The first part, the first drop. So this part is too loud in the mids. You have two instruments playing at the same time. I think one of the instruments is a trombone or something, maybe a distorted instrument, a live instrument, and there is another one a little lower, or 1 or 2 octaves lower. Yeah, 1 octave lower. I think these two share the same frequency range. That is not good because they clash. So it is very, well, it's not very comfortable for the ear. Okay, so what I would do, let me show you. Let's say that this is one instrument and the previous, sorry, the one below is another instrument. So let's say that this is the trombone. So what I would do is make a cut finding the frequency range that is very heavy on the instrument. Let's say it is a trombone instrument. I cut it there, and on the other instrument, I would like to, you know, try to match them. So I would try to find the clashing frequencies first, of course, and then I would like to place their range, place their frequency, the dominating frequencies in the mix. So like a brick in the walls, like bricks in the wall. Sorry, yeah. So like bricks in the wall. It is never a good idea to use two instruments on top of each other that share the same dominating frequencies, the same the loudest frequencies or loudest harmonics. I would definitely tweak them and definitely treat them with an EQ in a way that they won't sound on the same frequency range, so they won't clash and don't fight. Because I hear that these frequencies, these instruments are fighting really, really heavily. So this is a mixing problem again. It's, again, not a big deal. You can easily fix it, very, very easily. But you can clearly hear in the mix that it is very loud on the mid-ranges. I think it is at around like 1 or 2K or even higher, because these sounds, these leads are very harsh at the same time. So, like here. Yeah, the higher instrument is very loud in this area, so it is like 3 or 4K. And the lower harmony, well, lower instrument is at around 1K. So this is where they dominate. I would like to tame them a little more, and on the highs too. So these are very harsh instruments. Take my hand. Oh, there was something about the intro. Yeah, this effect that you put on the vocals, this range, you can clearly hear that around 300 Hz is too much. It instantly sounds better if I just try to tame it a little. But again, this is not a big deal, it's some EQing problem. By the way, what system do you use? Do you use headphones or speakers? What is your system? It is very important to use something that you know and that you trust. I remember I made music I produced on a stereo, so not on proper speakers like monitors, but on a stereo, a pair of stereo for like 10 years or something. So I know what I mean, and I'm sure you guys know what I mean too, that you definitely need something, a proper system that you listen on your mixes on. So yeah, I think the most problematic part is how you crunch the master. I really love this sound, by the way, this offbeat oompa, 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 oompa. But again, on the frequency, well, I can't really tell you what frequency is. Maybe it is the mid-lows that hurts my ears a little. Yeah, so it's a little too hard on the mid-lows. Yeah, that is the instrument that goes in the offbeat. That has a very heavy impact on the mid-lows. Because I don't hear it here when it's not playing. I love the sub, it sounds so cool, by the way, with the kick, so it's cool. But when you get here, this is a cool sound, but just tame it a little more, so it is too heavy on the mid-lows. I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but what I hear is a little distracting. Again, it's not a big deal. So your song is very cool. I'm not saying that it is these are huge problems. They are just slight EQing. So this is the only solution. And of course on the master, just pull everything back. Yeah, this is a very, very cool drop. I love it. Again, I would tame the mids a little on the main instrument, the main bass, like wow, that one. But it's cool, maybe just the mids a little too much there. Yeah. Very cool, but you over crunch it. Yeah, cool, just the same problem. Okay, so as I can see, I'm not really sure, but you treat the drop differently. So I guess you're using a different bus for the drop only. Am I right? Because that is what I see here. Tell me if I'm wrong or right. And that is a cool thing, by the way. So this is what I do too. So to make the drop a lot heavier than the intro and other stuff. But be a little more careful with that. So yeah, cool stuff. Perfect. Next dude. I'm not gonna introduce who is the next one, just to make you guys a little more excited. Am I evil? Haha, this was a really cool song. I loved it, Protos. Yeah, so I'm not really familiar with this style, honestly. I love what I heard. And again, so because I'm not very familiar with this style, maybe this is intentional to make the song really long with, you know, this is again, I don't really see, yeah, more than 4 minutes. That is cool. Maybe it would be a little better, like around 3 minutes. So it is, again, it's not a big issue again here, but I felt that, I'm sorry, I hope you won't mind saying this, but I felt a little boring at some places. But it's not because I don't understand the style. I love it because I'm an 80s guy, so I heard lots of happy hardcore in my youth. I'm still young, by the way. But you know, when I was into the club life, I heard and we danced to lots of happy hardcore songs back in the 90s. So I really love this style. I still feel that at some places I would love to hear a little more life in the song. So let me find. Everything is cool until here. Yeah, everything is cool. Yeah, so this part I think is a little too long. If you introduce the vocal to it or anything that just, you know, like only in this part, just introduce a vocal or something that really just differentiate from this part, that would make a whole word, like different world. So basically you are building, I can hear that and that is really cool, but so you are building the song to here, and it is like from 1:30, let's say it's 1. So we have almost half a minute that is building. Okay, that is cool, but it is not very busy. I mean, they don't need to be too busy or very, very busy, but I was bored a little, honestly. Maybe I'm alone with this. Tell me, guys, if you don't agree with that. I just felt that this part here should be a little more, or, you know, if it had a vocal, that would totally solve all the problems here in this section. And but because we don't have vocal there or anything that just, you know, just make a little, how would we say it? Just, you know, a lead sound. It's not a lead. It's not the best description for that. Anyway, let's stick with the vocal. So if you had a vocal here, that would be totally cool. I love this soul stack here. Very, very cool sound. Cool, sharp, clean, lovely melody, love the harmonic. I love that. Very, very cool stuff. So start building again. Okay, so this is the other part that I was not really sure about that. It's a cool pre-drop. Why don't you drop a huge reverb here? Because what you wanted to do is introduce or reintroduce the saw stack that you use in the drop, but you know, with a dry instrument, it's just it's hard to explain my feelings. Let's try to drop a reverb on it. Maybe it would explain a little better what I mean. We don't need a load. I'm not sure about the reverb. Maybe the only problem here, to me, it's a personal thing, that it is a little too dry. This pre-drop effect somehow is a little too different than the drop. Or maybe it just, you know, pulls back the energy that you built up with a very, very cool build up. or maybe just a little busy, like kind of drum feel before the drop, because as I told you, you built up the tension really well. But I feel that when we get to the pre-drop, you lose it. Again, maybe I am wrong with that, but again, I heard lots of happy hardcore songs in my youth, and this is my feeling. Sorry, I can't express it better. Again, so in the second half of this drop, you have this very cool saw stack thing, but when we get to the second half of the drop, basically all you did is just pull it back and you left only the background elements running, and you know, the offbeat chants, I don't know, you know, the vocals, the offbeat vocals, hey, offbeat haze. This is the only thing that you introduced in the second half of the drop. So when you hear, I mean, the average listener definitely hears that and feels that you pulled back something, you pulled back the main element, and you didn't replace it with anything. And this goes as long as the first part, if I'm right. Yeah, almost as the first half of the drop. And that would be cool if you just used it as a little long, like a transition into a second half of a drop. But no, it is actually the second half of the drop, where you had a very, very cool, a very strong and very clean main element that you pulled back, and you just left the whole song there, and you didn't do anything with that except the offbeat haze. To me, that was a loss, honestly. And tell me, guys, if I'm wrong. But you know, in this second half of the drop, I lost the song, so because there was nothing that I was able to focus on and just, you know, have a connection with, because that first main element, that Ghosthack, was so cool. Okay, so again, the same problem here. Again, it's not a big problem. These are my feelings. So until here, you have all these. It's again from 2:15 to 3 minutes, so it's 45 seconds long. Nothing is really happening. I can hear that you're building up something, but there is nothing that catches my ears and my soul, you know, something that I can build a bond with. You have the harmonies. I want to hear something that sticks out, or some ear candies here and there. You drop in some exciting elements that I can focus on. But if there is nothing there, only the and the reese under it with some slide drums, it gets very boring after a while, and you do this 45 minutes long. Sorry, seconds long. So again, this is I don't want to waste more time. So this is a very, very cool song, but again, to me, honestly, it would be a lot better if it was. So sometimes less is more. This is all I wanted to say, but hats off. I really enjoy this song. Very, very different stuff that I usually hear from you guys, but I love it. So yeah, so cool stuff. Loved it. And the mixdown was cool too. Cool. I love the drum and bass beat. Let's see. Yeah, cool. Everything. You should hear me well. All right. So there was this vocally thing. Yeah, I think this is it. I think in this part of the beat, it's cool. We have a very strong low and mid range. Well, mid-lower range at around 200k to 200 hertz. That is not a problem at all in this part, because basically we only have that vocal thing, the vocal loop, let's call it vocal scratch loop, and a very minimal sawy lead. But when you introduce a little more stuff there, it gets a little how you say it, so it's muddy. Let's face it, it's very muddy. So if you only play it, that's cool. We can take it like an atmosphere in the background that is part of the vocal scratch loop. But when you introduce the drums and introduce other elements like the sub and basses and stuff like that, it can easily push the sound into a very muddy direction where you can't really tell what it is. You just hear that something is distracting. And I think that is coming from the vocal scratch loop. So what I would do is just leave it as it is until here, until you introduce the drums. And the sub, of course. Because if you don't treat the vocal scratch loop, the whole thing will get a little distracting, especially because of the muddiness. So what I would do is just find the sweet spot and just make a high cut. Oops. So let's see. Yeah, at around 200 hertz. So if you make a cut at around 200 hertz, when you introduce the drums, problem solved. So it won't be muddy after that. Maybe you can go a little higher, but as I can hear in the mix, without, you know, just dissecting the mix, I think that will solve the problem. So this is the first one. I would say that I'm not a big fan of the snare because I think this is too thick for a drum bass song. But I think this is just personal. It's just my taste. I would love to have a little shorter snare. So something like, let me try to show you. But again, you don't need to agree with me. So yeah, something like this. I would just, you know, crop the snare to this and add a little reverb to it. Like not a little reverb, but a lot of reverb, honestly. But that would so cool. That would be so cool because you won't hear the, but only just a very short snare, but some nice reverb, especially mid-range heavy, not mid-high range heavy, but a mid-range heavy reverb. Like, we definitely need to cut the lows. Yeah, something like that would sound cool, I guess. Maybe this is a little too long. Yeah, that's cool. And maybe with some compression, we can make it a little better. Yeah, so that is cool because the very heavy mid-high rangey noise on the snare will not last too long. So it won't. Well, it doesn't make the mix muddy, but still a little muddy around the snare. So this is why most of the drum and bass snares are a little shorter, but with a little longer but well treated reverb or a different layer on the snare noise, so the snare tail. Because the one that you have is just simply too long and too thick on the mid-range. But again, mid-high range, sorry. But again, this is a personal taste. You don't need to agree with me. This is what I heard, that I think this is a little too long. Not a typical drum and bass snare, honestly. But it's minimal. Okay, so you have this da-da-dun, da-da-dun, something as sawy lead that sounds cool here. I still feel that it's a little too quiet. The other elements that you use in the intro eat that main lead. So I think you should pull it up a little more. But the bigger problem, this part in the drop is very heavy in the mid-range and on the mid-high range too. That is cool on itself, but if you don't treat it, these elements that you're already playing here, something, and then introduce that saw lead, they will fight, and they are already fighting against each other a little. Not too drastic, but I would definitely treat this part, you know, with some just the same way that I previously showed. I'm not sure on which track. You know, just pull back slightly on the mids and the mid-highs frequencies on this part. So not the main lead, that sawy, very high frequency or high note sawy lead. Just to make room for the main lead that you introduce here, for that lead, you definitely need to make some room for that, because these elements, these instruments, are taking the whole room for that. Okay, so by just simply EQing, you don't even need to pull back the volume on these instruments. Just slight EQing or EQ modulation on the drop would solve your problem, because here they are fighting each other. It's very hard to, you know, focus on the lead, because I don't know where to focus on that the harmonies or the lead, because they are sharing the same frequency range and the same level. So it is a little hard to, you know, find what I want to focus on. Again, the same problem here. Your main lead is a little too quiet and also fighting against each other. Yeah, I think this is it. Again, just slight mixing or EQing problems, but not biggie. Okay, cool stuff. I loved it again, because this is drum and bass and I love drum and bass. All right, next dude. Hopefully it will be pyro beats, sorry.
La nuit n'est jamais complète, toujours un rêve qui veille. Je voudrais qu'on soit deux et qu'on retombe amoureux. Je ne contrôle plus au fond, c'est ça que j'aime. À ces notes je rends hommage au seul homme que j'aimais. n'est jamais complète. Toujours un rêve qui veille. Je voudrais qu'on soit deux et qu'on retombe amoureux. Je ne contrôle plus au fond, c'est ça que j'aime. À ces notes je rends hommage au seul homme que j'aimais.
Right. Again, I really enjoyed this because this was very different. First, when you introduced that distorted lead, I'm not sure what was that. Come on, this violin is so beautiful, man. Come on, I love French music, but this is... It so hits me on the feels. Okay, so this part. First, I thought it was a fly. Coming in, flying or something. Then I thought it was a fart. That is why I started laughing. Then I realized that this must have been a vocal that you distorted and added some noise on top of that. And it sounds so freaking cool, by the way. Maybe what I would do is I would take that lead, the distorted lead, and treat a little more on the mid highs, you know, to pull back the noisy and the paper noisy mid high frequency range a little, not too much, just to, you know, make it a little cleaner, because somehow to me it's a little too noisy. Just, you know, just a pinch of it. It's not a big problem. One of the dudes say that the percussion are too wide or too pans to the left or the right. I can't really tell. To me, honestly, it's cool. I love how wide it is. You have these percussion. Well, it's not a percussion to me. It's a Foley sound, like a river noise. Playing in the background. I will pull it a little more back, like making it a little quieter. You know, just to make the mix a little cleaner, because all you have here is wonderful, but I feel that the mix is could be a little cleaner. The second thing that is one of the things that I always, you know, what I love to have is just clean drums, and this is electronic music, I guess, so we definitely need clean drums. But the kick here is eaten by the instruments. You can clearly see how the sub that you're playing is bending the kick, and that is not a good choice here. You don't always need to sidechain everything, but the sub, I can see that you did something with the sub, by the way. It is not completely bending the full kick, but you can clearly see that the transient and the first few milliseconds of the kick drum is bent. So you definitely need to check on the sidechain if you use sidechain, or if not, I would recommend you to do maybe only on the sub, because what I hear is a little muddy, a little not like, I want to hear clear drums, okay? And this is not a clean drum, because I don't hear the transient. I don't hear how pumping the kick drum is. The bass is eaten. I mean, the kick is eaten by the bass. And by the way, what is it? Is it a stereo bass? Or is it just... I'm not sure if this is the kick itself here, but I think it is. But it's a little weird how it looks. I'm not sure what is happening here. The stereo bass. I'm not sure. But here it looks like it is not stereo. Anyway, this part is a little weird. And this is the most prominent way that I hear that there is something weird is going on with your mix. Also, you have these, the hi-hats, the close hi-hat. And I feel that is sticking out too much from the mix. This is, again, that to me honestly makes the mix a little muddy, but this time not on the low end, but on the high end. That, you know, the high end can be muddy too. So what I would do and what I like to do is sidechain. Maybe that would sound a little weird to me, but I love that technique. I would sidechain the hi-hats, or just, you know, modulate it automatically using the velocity bars, or just automate a volume knob or utility if you use Ableton, or just use a regular sidechain on it, only on the kick. So on the very, very beginning of the kick, so not on the full stuff, but only on the transient, to let the transient cut through the mix a little better. This will give you a highly compressed feeling without compressing the sound. So just imagine that when you compress a hi-hat with a kick sound really, really heavily, like with huge attack time, with lots of threshold and ratio on it, what you get is, you know, the transient of the kick jumps out really high, that you chop off with the saturator, and the hi-hat will sound a little less, I mean, it will sound a little less prominent because of the lots of effect and the lots of process on it. So this is what I love to do, to pull back, you know, just try to emulate it with some volume automation. And this is what I love to do, just take the hi-hat, the kicks, the close hi-hat in this case, and just, you know, pull it back a little on the kick transient. And after that, when you process the drums or the master, you will get a very, very clean transient on the kick. That will sound really cool, I think. And you won't have a muddy top end where you can hear the all the time, and it will eat the kick transient and the snare transient and everything. But there are other techniques that you can use to make the kick a little cleaner. Also, you have that background Foley reverb effect or whatever it is. That's again cool, but try to EQ it a little more to, you know, would make a little cleaner, especially on the, as I heard it. Let me go back to it. Yeah, I think it's playing very much in the middles. So on the Foley effect, the river flowing Foley effect, I would treat the mids a little more, you know, just to make the sound a little cleaner. I mean, the whole mix. But other than this, I love it. It's so moody, by the way. Lovely stuff. Cool. Alrighty. Next dude. Okay, a really heavy track. One of the dudes say that this the mix sounds cool. I can't agree. I try to be gentle and I don't want to throw shit on other people's work, especially because I want to be constructive and not destructive. But I can honestly say that, so don't be afraid to use mid-range. If you listen to all these game, like, it's not horror, but more, maybe horror, action horror, whatever they are, you know, Gear of War or something like that, that have very, very heavy, these insanely heavy metal, almost metallic trailer music, fused music, whatever it is. I can't really tell the style, the name of the style. Anyway, so they are very, very heavy in the mid-range. So don't be afraid to use mid-range. I know that is crazy hard to mix them well, but don't be afraid. Just start doing it and you will nail it after a while. Just keep practicing. But here, all I can hear is just, you know, noise and low end booms, like boom, boom, boom. And it is very distracting because most of the people really need to hear mid-range, because the magic, some of the big mixing engineers said that the magic is in the mids. So if you nail the mids, or if you just try to do something in the mids, like that is where most of the people can focus to. If you don't have anything in the mids, you will see the same way, or you will get the same reactions that most of the guys said in the chat, that okay, I can hear that it's building somewhere, but where is the drop? Where is the song itself? We have the booms and some weird noises, and that is not good. You definitely want to tell the people who listen to your music where the focus is. You definitely need to have some. It doesn't need to be a lead sound. I mean, in a classic way, like a soul lead, a melody or something. But you definitely want to add mid-range to the songs. It is very hard, I know, but that is what makes music. You know, bass-heavy music have lots of mid-range too, and this lacks a lot of the mid-range. So you have lots of low end, lots of mid lows, but nothing in the mids. Also, the arrangement of the song is a little too weird. Everything is very low, nothing is. So, okay, I'm stopping here because I don't want to suggest that you made trash, all right? So don't take it this way. It's not trash, but I see that you wanted to achieve a very dark sound, and that's cool. You already did that. You already nailed the dark sound. That is very cool, but don't be afraid to add mid-range to it, mid-range elements to it. And the second thing is everything is too long. So it is the same problem like previously with 2 songs already, that less is more. So try to listen to more trailer music that has the same vibe, you know, these very darky kind of Gear of Wars style, very machine gun slaughtering kind of thing. And try to be a little more creative with the arrangements, because these are very, very long parts or sections. Even these booms are, sorry to say that, but they are pointless if you play them so long that I can't really say where is it going. I can't really tell where it is going, where it's heading to. Is it a build-up, or is it the drop itself, or what is happening? So it is not very obvious for the listeners, and I saw that lots of guys in the chat felt the same way. So you are on the right track. I don't want to throw shit on your work again. You are on the right track, but try to be, you know, one thing that I would say, it is 4 minutes long. So if you can build a song like this in, let's say, 1.5 minutes, make it interesting, switch between sections, try to add ear candies, try to add more effects, and especially mid-range. And if it sounds cool, you can start expanding it to like 2 minutes or even 4 minutes. But if you start making a song 4 minutes long that you basically just add 2 or 3 elements to it with the drums, I think that is not a good goal. Start with the shorter one. It doesn't really matter if you're stuck in the loop. You will stuck in the loop anyway, and lots of producers stuck in the loop anyway. So it's okay. We all do this, no problem. But just start to make a shorter one. Try to make more exciting, like just a drop. Try to build up a drop that is exciting with lots of movement and stuff, and then you can start building around other elements to the song or to the drop. But right now it is just too long and nothing really is happening there. But again, you nailed a really cool and dark sound, and I love that. Keep going, keep doing what you do, bro. Coolio, nice mid-tempo stuff. You have a little problem with the basses, with mixing the basses again. It's very interesting because every Thursday stream has some problems that most of the people and most of the songs struggle with. In the previous streams, lots of people struggled with the build-up because they were able to get a great drop, but the build-up was just not there. They were not able to build up tension. But today, lots of songs are struggling with mix. And this one is a good example in that, unfortunately, now in this time you get lots of mid-range. That is cool. I'm not a big fan of this lead because it is too simple, and try to be a little more creative with this lead. It's just a simple saw with lots of reverb, and mid-tempo is very famous from the sound design behind that. So I would definitely wanted you to work a little more on the lead. So just please do not use a simple saw as a block, okay? And when we get to the drop, so this bass is a little 2010 style bass, like when Zomboy tried to copy Skrillex the first time, and there was that song, I don't remember the title of that. This bass reminds me of that song, but it is very, very muddy in the mid-range. So in this, like around 200 Hertz. Also, I'm not a big fan of that type of sound because, again, it is very heavy in the mid-range. Now we have the opposite problem. It is a little heavy on the mid-range, and because we're talking about a bass sound, I'm not really sure if I want to hear this heavy mid-range from a bass sound. Maybe it would be a little better with less mid-range. Yeah, it's a little too much in the mids. Not drastic, but like less than 2 decibels can solve your problem. Maybe around 2 decibels is fine, 2 or 3. The other problem here that the snare, we caught another problem here, some sidechaining problem, or it is the snare that plays on top of the kick that basically, yeah, this is the problem. Yeah, I think this is the snare that creates this problem. You can see it on the kick that it totally distorts the kick itself, and I think it is because of the snare, the bottom part of the snare. You know, you haven't treated the snare properly. Or is it a snare itself? Okay, it is not a kick, it is a snare, but it still has some problems because, you know, these type of phase issues tells us something. By the way, the solution is very simple. If you go into the sample editor and just, you know, you can easily fix it, but this won't fix the mixing problem. That is, you know, the snare is not cutting through the mix very well. I would use a little different transient maybe. Anyway, I would try a different snare on this because the mix is not supporting the snare well. Basically it eats the snare. So I think this can be easily solved by selecting a different snare. This is an interesting sound. I'm not sure if you use the crash on top of it or it is the sound itself. But it sticks out from the other sound. The other bass is a little. Yeah, this is a crash on top of that. But the bass itself is very different in color than the previous basses. Yeah, so you used really cool basses, like a little old style basses, but I would suggest you to dig into mixing it a little better, especially on the mid-range, because they are very, very heavy on the mid-range. And it is not a huge problem. It is even better if you don't use mid-range at all, like the previous one, I think. Yeah, it was the previous one. But, you know, again, these are tiny problems that you can easily solve with some slight EQing. I think the arrangement is cool. You have some nice build-ups. Only that this saw plug. Yeah, nice tension. The drop is cool. How the drop follows the build up is cool. You know, you didn't lose the tension. Only that these basses are a little too heavy on the mids. But other than that, cool stuff. And the snare, yeah, I would change the snare. But you know, snare is always a problem. Like every producer struggles with finding or compressing or just treating the best snare that is possible, basically. But it's never possible. We never find the best snare. This is the same that we never finish a song. We just stop building it or stop making it because we got bored of that. I guess this is true for everyone. Okay, next one. Okay, so I don't agree with Aiko. The clap or the snare always needs to be louder than the kick. Okay, so we're talking about a lot of stuff, especially with drums. So the kick is basically a very bass-heavy focused instrument. Of course, we have some mid-range and some top sounds occasionally, but basically it's a low-end instrument, a bass instrument. Kick is a bass instrument with a very, very short transient to it. But the snare is very, very different. So it has lots of mid-range, lots of top range. Also, it has some bottom, so low frequencies too. But basically, it's a very heavy instrument compared to the kick. If you just, see the whole thing, I mean, the whole spectrum and not only the low end. Of course, electronic music is low end focused, but as a whole spectrum, a snare is always louder in perception than the kick. And that is totally fine. I think this example is a great, this track is a great example. And honestly, I'm really fine. And I really love the balance between the kick and the snare. Also, how loud the clap is or the snare is, and we still hear the transient from the kick. You treated the thing really well. I love it. I think the drums are really cool. Even the hats. Sounds cool to me. The hat is a little too rusty or too raw, but this is a personal thing. I like to keep my hi-hats a lot more towards the top end, just I don't really like them to have too much mid-high frequencies. But again, this is a stylistic question. I think it's cool. Although I agree with the other dude who said that the mix should be a little thicker. And yeah, unfortunately, this is true. I would treat the instruments. I'm not sure where is this lead grouped. So what is the cheap tune, whatever it is, that synth sound, it is in the bass group or it is in the instrument group or whatever, but I would treat them and compress them a lot heavier. And at the same time, the low end, the sub, as I can hear, it's a saw, it's a filtered saw. I'm not sure if this is a good solution or a good choice. What I would do, let me show you really fast, is instead using a saw wave, I would go with FM. Or even distorting, like using the filter drive. Yeah, this thing, and just using a filter or an EQ, and just use a filter to get rid of the unwanted frequencies. And we still have a very sawy kind of sound, but it is still not a saw. It will be still different. So it's almost like a square and not a saw. That is a lot closer to the style. A saw wave, I'm not really sure about that. But maybe for this chiptune synth is a good choice. I'm not really sure, but I'm really sure that you should have processed the instruments a lot better or compressed them a lot heavier to make them sound a lot heavier. And also on the master, I think maybe you should, or you could go a little harder. Now this is the opposite because one of the dudes previously crunched the master too heavily, and that was way too much. But in this case and this song, I think it's a little too light on the master. So try to go a little go crazier with that until you don't distort and you don't crunch your whole song completely. This needs some more thickness to it. The other thing that maybe I would pull back the volume on the build-up. So when we get to the drop, we have some extra volume too. I think this is the part where we need to go back with the volume. No, let's start it with the snare or the clap, because it starts on the clap, I think. The drop is starting on the clap. Yeah, maybe. It's interesting because you didn't crunch, you didn't compress the master very heavily or enough, sorry. So you didn't crunch your master, or didn't compress your master enough, but still the build-up is too loud compared to the drop. I'm not sure why is that. There was a lead. By the way, I love this organ bass, this 90s organ bass. It's so cool, especially for a rhythm song. It's very unusual, and I love to hear it. I loved to hear it. But interestingly, I hear some saturation here. I don't see it though. But on the kick, I definitely hear something weird. Maybe it is just an instrument that you didn't sidechain. Anyway, I love this section. It's very unique, very cool stuff. Yeah, cool stuff, man. I love it. Just try to be a little more aggressive with the mix. And I think the saw bass needs some EQing in the mid-low, sorry. The intro is very, very cool. Very moody, very atmospheric. Yeah. Again, the same automation on the volume would save you a lot of struggle with building up more tension. But it's already good tension that you built up. It's just, you can make it a little more. I can clearly see in the waveform. Anyway, great job. I love the drums. I love your instruments. And everything here is so cool. And let's go to the next dude. All right. This is gonna be heavy. Oh my god, I forgot to record it. Okay, so I will have to talk about it without recording it. So yeah, there were lots of clashing frequencies, especially in the drops. These what are these? These not cinematic, orchestral instruments. They sound cool, but in the mix, they stick out too much. Again, in the mids. So you built up. Come on, you built up so cool tension, then you totally released it and just, you know, killed it. You killed the tension that you built up here with this stupid long pre-drop. I know this is a trend now, that making stupid long pre-drop after we built up a good tension. But come on, guys, try to feel it. Try to feel the tension that you built up and try to not lose it. Just listen. Hey, 1, 3, 4, boom. And if it is longer, I mean, I counted only 4, so 4 beats, 4 fourths. And after that, you totally lost it. Okay, so when we get to the drop, so we have the chords, and when we get to the first bass, they are like a million miles away from each other, not in style, but in color and in EQ, like, you know, how you EQ'd them and how you processed them or treated them, because it is a very, very mid-range heavy bass, but the chords, the orchestral chords are just, you know, way in the background and just they're very shy, not necessarily in volume, but the whole color and how they sound just very different. So yeah, one of the dudes said there are lots of clashing frequencies, and yes, honestly, this is true. Unfortunately, there are lots of clashing frequencies, so try to find them, especially with the main basses. This the gun basses again, just they're very, very heavy in the mids, and they kill lots of other frequencies, other instruments. And you have this they are like, again, like million miles away from each other. The gun basses are very into your face, and the other bass, that's little is just, you know, somewhere out there in the field. Try to match them in color and in volume too. Just, you know, simple EQing and some leveling here and there. Try to focus a little more on that. So if you want to stick out as an instrument, stick from the mix, I think you should use a little trickier processes, a little trickier techniques, rather than, you know, just boosting a lots of, or adding lots of energy, lots of volume on the main basses, but other basses or other sounds are just hidden in the background or just way far each other in terms of color and width and stuff. I know this is a hard task to do, but always try to match those basses. I think I made a few videos about this on my channel. Let's synthesize how to match different colors, different sounds, different basses especially, because that is tricky, I know. But when you listen to the basses that you put together, the first thing that will stick out is the volume differences. This can be tricky because, you know, every frequency is different to the ear. So like a mid-high frequency is a lot more sensible. I mean, the ear is a lot more sensible to mid-high frequencies than other frequencies, for example, sub, so the very lows. But try to be a little clever with matching those basses. And this is the thing that misses here. The arrangement is cool, I think. The groove is there. Even your drums sound really cool. only the basses that are a little too far from each other. So try to match them a little better. I think this is simply EQing, so it's not a big deal, honestly. Yeah, lots of things are happening in the mid-range. Try to select them or separate them a little more into their own places in the mix. So think these instruments like bricks in a wall. Every brick has its own place, and they don't really overlap each other. Sometimes they can, of course, it's not a big deal, but mainly every brick has their own places. And this should be applied to mixing too. And simply EQing, you can solve this problem. But yeah, it's a cool stuff. Very nice work, honestly. Cool, next dude. Right now I want to record it. I was lucky this time.
You are in danger. You are in danger.
All right, cool. Looks like the mastering is cool in this song, but still, this time it is the opposite. The drums sound cool, but honestly, the main bass this time lacks of mid-range, so it is. I think it is a little too quiet. But at the same time, there are some frequencies in the mid-top range that are a little too much. So yeah, the drum sounds cool, but the mid-range this time lacks of energy. So sometimes it is too much, sometimes it is not enough. Yeah, so it is hard, as I said before, finding the best balance for the mid-range is really hard. So when we are talking about low end, it is a lot easier. When talking about top range, again, it is a lot easier. But the mid-range, you know, because simply that is the widest band, this is the widest range in the frequency spectrum, it is very hard to find a good balance. For this bass, I feel that the other elements that you play below the main bass are a lot louder than the main bass itself. So I can hear lots of different elements in the background that you put there. Like as whoa, and whatever is happening in the background, and some other risers or what they are. But the main bass compared to them is, I think, too quiet. Also, why did you sample that Skrillex song? Vocals. I hear lots of vocal cuts from that song. What is that? The Purple Lamborghini, maybe? Wow. Yeah, this time, by the way, the basses are imbalanced compared to each other. So I don't feel that one of the bass jumps out and the other stays in the background and they are too far from each other. But I feel, so they are cool, they are matched well, so they are in balance. But this time I just feel that the main basses are too shy. Especially, I mean, this sound too, this the screechy kind of thing. It's like, come on, man, I can't even hear it. I can't even decide if it is part of the background fillers or it is the main bass. Or it's not a bass, it's a synth for me, honestly, but to me. This sub or this techno-ish kind of rumble is interesting here. Is it intentional to replace the sub to this rumble? I mean, it is not a classic techno rumble, but there is some weird middle frequencies that I hear here. You can clearly see on the spectrum, or not the spectrum, but on the harmonics, that it is sticking out well, not too heavily, it is sticking out really hard. I'm not sure if this was intentional to switch up the sub to this rumbly kind of instrument. I'm not sure what is it. It is part of, maybe it is part of the kick or it is a separate instrument. I'm not sure. To me, honestly, it's a little weird. And again, this section is, I think, a little too long, so I'm not really sure where it is heading to. Oh, okay, it's a VIP. I don't think it is a complete song. It's just like 1.5 minutes long. All right, okay, so if this is the case, this is WIP, that's fine. I don't want to say anything about the outro because I guess that you're going to work on it a little more. So, yeah, it's a cool stuff. And it is struggling from the same thing. Here you have the drums are so cool, but the other elements, what is it, the core? Yeah. I would definitely add a little more instruments here. To me, it's a little too empty. But when you get to this section, it sticks out, especially again in color, especially around. Yeah, 400 and 500 hertz. It's a little too much. This frequency range is too much.
You are in danger.
Again, the pre-drop section, the same thing like always. It is working a little better this time, but I feel that if you have half of this, it would work a lot better. By the way, this feel is so cool, this metal drum feel. Brutal! Alright. Bah! I can't scream. I almost killed my voice. Alright. So yeah, this is what I wanted to talk about. Come on, I killed my already weak voice. Alright. So yeah, I think this was it for today. Sorry guys. And sorry for Pyro because because the bot haven't chose him. Yeah, water, but I just finished my water, so Darth Vader is thirsty. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this guy and I hope you learned a lot today and I was helpful and valuable with my feedbacks. And see you 2 weeks later. Okay, take care of yourself, make great music, and subscribe to Ghosthack channel. And if you want, you can go to Let's Synthesize channel too. Peace out.